Okay, we're rolling. This is Sergey and Aram show, and today we are going to talk about digital product studio and how to pick one amongst all the choices that you have on companies worldwide, Canadian companies, and American companies. Aram, thank you for joining me today. We have only 5 minutes, so I'm going to jump straight into it. What is the digital product studio, and how do you define it?
Yeah, so a digital product studio is a type of service team that really specializes in all aspects of taking a product all the way from concept, like ideation, all the way to delivery to the market, to the end users. And the difference with a product studio versus like a dev agency, for example, is a product studio really tries to get a lot closer and to the ground of your customer base, your user base, using different types of activities and techniques like continuous discovery. A product discovery obviously is the main one, where we spend a lot of time and effort actually going and validating the idea in the market before committing to building it. So a lot of dev agencies, on the other side would just go be like, okay, here's the specs, go and build it. But they don't ask why, or they don't question anything about, the rationale in terms of how you got there. Whereas a product studio is more on the other side, in many ways sitting on the same side as the table as the client, and trying to think through all the potential pitfalls and constantly asking why. Like, why do you think this is the case? Let's go speak to the customers. Let's be data aware, not data driven. There's all these different mindsets that a product studio has that is in their arsenal in terms of like mindset or methodologies and processes that give them a leg up, I would say, when it comes to building a product, because they're just a lot more well-rounded in their approach, which is in many ways what a founding team would be doing. We do as well on the product studio level.
So more comfortable saying no if the agency or product studio doesn't feel like what you're coming to them as a client is feasible or will succeed.
Yeah, I think the tricky thing is, as a professional service company, which a product studio is at the end of the day, it's hard to say no, especially when you get to the point where like, okay, this there's no innovation here. There's no interest from the market. There's no paying customers. And so typically at the end of product discovery, when we kind of go through the process, there's still options obviously out there for us to consider. Like one is like, okay, let's rethink the angle of approach. Let's pivot. Let's try different tactics. Maybe let's review the data again. Maybe we missed something. Like there's always something we can do. But oftentimes, actually, surprisingly, when we do product discovery, we might uncover something even more appetizing after having spoken to the actual paying target user base than what we initially set out as our hypothesis.
The last question: how do you find a digital product studio before you get to work with one? Now, we know people will go to Google, they will go to review sites, Trustpilot or equivalent size Clutch. What do you need to pay attention to find a partner that you would be happy with at the end of the day?
Yeah, I mean, there's always like the standard ones, like look at the case studies, look at the testimonials, look at the industries they worked in, look at where the team is, how much experience they have and what they do. Those are just some basic factors, I would say, that are kind of pretty general. But I would always ask for referrals from other parties that worked with that studio. I would also emphasize on studios that actually have experience doing product discovery. There's actually not that many good companies out there that specialize in this or have a good model to doing it. Some maybe mention it and talk about it on the site, but when you look under the hood, there's not very clear playbook or methodology set. So really kind of probe deeper into like understanding what are the specific things that you do, how do you work, what's your process, what's your playbook, what are the activities that you do, where do you source, target users from, what are the channels of acquisition that you typically go to when you're doing, customer development on a product idea. And then it's like, then how congruent or how collaborative is like the rest of like the cross-functional teams you have. So what I like seeing in a product studio is like developers being involved in discovery. for example. Sometimes discovery in some companies is run by BAs, like business analysts. And unfortunately, those BAs are thinking through from a business standpoint. They're not thinking through from like a customer-centric standpoint or like what the market actually wants. So those are the ones that I would watch out for, because at the end of the day, they never went and validated anything, in those situations. There was no product manager who had the task and obligation of going and trying to find the need in the market and kind of like prove it out to warrant a business case for it. Those are the ones that I would say are the key differentiators. Some studios.
And this is what's right. Yeah. And this is what something you guys might not find on Google necessarily. And we're 5 minutes, 58 seconds in. This was our officially the shortest episode, talking about what is the digital product studio and how to find one. And then we'll post about it on LinkedIn, and we'll probably drop it on our normal channels because Aram has to run. And well, that was an efficient episode, isn't it?
That was very efficient, to the point. I love it.